Right, my darlings, let's make a start. I want to make a start on the cover for Edith. I don't think this is going to be all in one video. It's likely to be a two-parter. I don't know. Let's see how I get on. So I've got my linen tape out for hinging. I'll come back to that in a minute. I've got a piece of just natural cotton that I soaked overnight in tea. That's trimmed to the right width, but not the right height yet. So pop that out of the way. I've decided to go for the outer cover with that brown velvet. It still needs a bit more debobbling. It's got fluff and all sorts. But I got no doubt more fluff will stick to it as I go on. So I just need to give it a little bit of a brush. So that is not cut exactly the size, but cut close enough to work with. So I'll pop that out of the way. And then I've got, actually let's fold this up and put it over here. I am going to do chipboard. So I'll come back to the kebab sticks. I've got a spine, an inner spine, and a template spine. This will make sense in a minute. So the actual spine and a chipboard, and the inner spine, which will go on there, and the template. I've got my two chipboard covers, front and back. So there's my spine. And I've found these two papers came from that D-stash, the same as the brown velvet. So one is going on the front cover, one's going on the back cover. That will eventually become a pocket on each for the inside of the book. Because I want to bind this, do this a little bit differently than I did Penelope. More like the construction I did for the Nevermore. So, but I've got to make a start. So that's front and back. Where's my pencil on? Pencil. Inside, front, inside, back, spine, front, and back. I don't always do this, but when I have gotten caught out, it's been times when I didn't. So here we go. I've got the spine, inside, front, and back. That's my template for punching. So that can go away safe out of the way. And then that inner spine will have the cotton glued to it and the signature bound through it and then attached. So first thing I've got to do is get these attached straight. Not like that, straight. On camera, yep. So I use these, like cheap bamboo kebab sticks, because they give me that sort of equidistance, sort of gaps in between. And then I'll just tap a ruler to make sure they're lined up flush. Instead of trying to fuss lining it up to the line on my mat, I do that. So, linen tape. I do prefer using this. You can get it in Hobbycraft, but lo and behold, it is not in the section where all the other tapes under the sun are stocked. This stuff is stocked in the section of the store that's got all the framing. There are picture frames and mats and things like that for framing. That's where you're going to find it. Which I'm surprised why it's not stocked in the paper crafting section. It's archival quality. It's, what does it say? It does say on here somewhere. It's acids-free, high thread count cotton, and acrylic adhesive. It's permanent and non-yellowing and stable over time. So why it's not stocked in the paper crafting section, I don't know. So it's just cotton tape. One of the reasons I do like it is because this non-glued side is just a very thin piece of cotton, which means that adhesive will grab. So my only problem, I can never get these started. Come on. There we go. Hope my voice holds out on me now because I am very croaky at the moment. And then just before sitting down here, I've absolutely sneezed my head off. And then picked it up, put it back on again. Honestly, I've sneezed and sneezed and sneezed. That's a move now. Line that back up. That stick there. There's my ruler. Got a top. There we go. Don't bump it, Faith. There we go. Is this going to come away as easily? So now I've just sneezed my head off today. Oh, come on. Always when I put the camera on. Come on. Right. This carries on too long. I'm just going to fast forward. Right, there we go. Takes a bit of doing to get in. But no, linen tape then goes on both sides. And I now have a lovely surface here to glue onto. So that's my inside. Flip it over. Pop those sticks out. And now I've got that gap. That's the same size on both sides. So I'm just going to repeat that on this side. So I will fast forward this bit. So watch this, super speedy. Right, so as you can see, that was not fast for me. That was very fiddly. So now I have those with those gaps in there, and then I take my bone folder, or I could use that one. No, that one's got a bit sharp on the end. Use my bone folder in those gaps. Another reason why I like that linen tape is that it is ever so slightly translucent, so that when I'm putting the tape down, I can actually see the gap underneath. So give those a smooth. And no, happy with that. And then as you can see, once it's smoothed down, I don't add any extra adhesive to this at all. The fabric of the tape is doing the job, really. So then I've got my cover. Quite a robust cover now. And just trim those off. And we'll get the front cover put on. I need new scissors. Hold on, I got new scissors. Where's my Tim Holtz ones? There they are. Not Tim Holtz, the Ranger ones. I can get that in there. Trim it off. So, at the time of this filming, I've got one more video to go up of the last treasure haul from up in Bremen. And there are some, by the time this goes up, anybody out there will know I'm doing the new collaboration with Rach and Bella, celebrating all the British UK channels out there, and really excited for that. Really, really excited. So I want to kind of put Edith into a state where she's not in the way so much at the moment. So Echoes of Edith, I've called her because, you know, just reading the book and learning a bit more about her, what on earth would she think of what we're doing now with her book? So before I look at that inside cover, I want to get this glued on and scented. Well, it doesn't have to be scented because I'm going to trim that off because I've left way too much, I think. Or will it matter? We'll see. Because the plan now, upside down, I'm going to get that glued to the front cover. And I'll come back to the front panel and the spine. That's going to have something else. I'm not sure about the closure yet. And then these pieces, that cotton out of the way, those pieces need to get trimmed. These need to get trimmed. I've taken that scrapbook paper and glued it to a thicker piece of brown cardstock because I want it to be quite thick. But I'm going to do some sewing on that. So once that's all folded up and in, I want that sort of finished edge there. So those will need to get trimmed. So next step, glue the fabric. I don't think there's any sort of, there's no pattern or anything on this. There is a little bit of a weave. I might want to flip that around actually to the velvet. Oh yeah, and moving it around like this on my craft table, it's going to pick up every speck of string going everywhere. So, yes, I want that sort of rub of the velvet going down. There we go. So, to do that, I'm just going to use my art for that. Or shall I use the new Aleene's? I picked this up in America when I was there. No, let's go with art. I know art does the job. So to do that, I'm going to speed this up again. So this is just a bunch of gluing. So here we go. So right, pin in the glue face. There we go. So I don't think I'm going to put a toggle through the spine. You know, like I did on Penelope, I'm not going to put a dangle off the spine of this one. I want it to very much look like it could have been passed down from Edith through the generations. And so I want it to look, I don't want it to look too modern. So, no, there we go. All stuck down and needing to be debobbled again. Never mind. Age and character is in. So, there's that. So, off camera now, I need to get this trimmed down. And I'll pop back on and we'll try to sort out where these are going. So, give me a couple of ticks. Give me a couple of ticks. Right, my darlings, ever so sorry. I've just pottered away in my own little bubble here, in my own little world, and I didn't press record. So, I've had to stop and put a new blade in my rotary cutter. I've got my friction pins out. I have this little tool. God, I've had it months and months now, and stuck in my little caddy of tools over here, and I've not used it, but it's a bookbinding, like, multi-tool. I can't remember all the functions. that bit, I think, is for measuring your gap in your spine, I think. But to place up against the corner, make sure I'm on camera, on the corner, I've used my friction pen to draw a line on the fabric. Because, of course, these can be ironed and they disappear. The ink disappears. So I went around, I've trimmed all that off, using that as a guide, going all the way around. And if I remember correctly, I think that one is rounding corners. That one right on the end there is rounding corners. Because if you pop it up against the edge, but that doesn't look like a proper corner to me. Anyhow, I have no clue what that is. I've forgotten completely. Or that point there. But that triangle there is, if I remember correctly, is to cut your corners. So let's have a go. Where's that pin gone? There it is. So if I mark them with the pen, and then lock them off with a pair of scissors. No, not that one. That one. So, now, I remember seeing this, I think it was an American channel I was watching at the time that used one of these. And I thought, right, well, it's not likely. I don't do Temu and things like that. So, but then I was pottering around on Amazon one day looking for something else, and this popped up. And it was only, I don't know, 6 or 7 pounds. And I thought, I'll give it a go. But I completely forgot I had it. It was in the pot here on my desk. So, let's try that and see. Put these friction pins away. And go for it. This stage of making a cover is a whole lot of gluing, to be honest. So I don't know how I'm going to edit this in the end. If I'm going to just fast forward the gluing or cut the gluing out. I don't know. Because the previous ones I've made, I got no memory of it now. Did I fast forward? I have to go back and check. And pop those away. Now, is that corner going to leave enough to tuck under for gluing? Ooh, it does. Interesting. That's spot on, that is. Ooh, I'm glad I remembered I had that. That is absolutely spot on my corner. I don't know if you can see from there, but that is spot on. Especially with velvet that's going to squish. So, let's glue it down. How am I going to do this? This is going to be let's do the sides first. Now, I'm covered with the fluff from the velvet after trimming it. It's stuck all over my top. Blow it away. I'll tell you what, let's give, I'll do it with Art. It's fine. Art, come on, Art, wake up. And get this flap stuck down. And I will sort of speed up the gluing process. Let's get this first one down first. And not all over the table. Come on. Pin in the glue. And let's see. I've got a little bit on the velvet, but that's fine. You're not going to see that. I'll wipe it all over my mat. And then I know this is a funny angle with the camera, but I do like to take it and sort of bend it against the table. I don't want glue on my mat because I don't want it to come off onto the front as a cover. So, no, happy with that. So I just need to do that now 1, 2, 3 more times. So, give me a tick. Right, my darlings, I'm back. It's the following day. So the cover is nice and dry now. The velvet's still shedding a bit, but that's to be expected where it's been cut. So, nice substantial book cover. Let's have a test of Edith. Where is she? There she is. So there's my 3 signatures. Pardon me. As they stand now, I'm sure my voice is going completely. I'm fine 1 minute, and then I'm like all croaky the next. Let's have a go. Yes. That's a lovely, snug fit. And she's quite full. Every page has got, nearly every page has got something. And inserts and things on the pages. So, no, I'm quite happy with that. So, she will be a good size. So before, right, I've got my template, I got my inner spine. I did a little bit of stamping at the end of the day yesterday on that piece of cotton. That still needs to be trimmed down. I need to work out how far the overhang is for this to work out how wide these inner pockets are going to be. So I've trimmed these down. That's that scrapbook paper just stuck to regular brown stock. But I've trimmed that now so that it's just inside the edge. Of course, you can't see that brown and the black cut on that. I've trimmed that down so that it's just inside that cover. Does that make sense? Going all the way around there. So I need to figure out how wide that pocket is going to be, depending on how much this overlaps the page. And I'm thinking I might have cut this too wide, so I might have to trim it. So let's have a go and see. Pop these out of the way a minute. And now, template needs to be safe. So on the back of that cotton, I've drawn the exact size of the spine on with a friction pen, so I know where to glue this inner spine. Because I should have then, is it 2 inches either side. So I'm going to get this stuck down and then trim the top and the bottom of this. So here we go. More glue in. Speed it up. So I'm happy with that. Still velvet fluff everywhere. So at the time of this filming, Rachel's video has gone up. I haven't watched it yet. It's on the plan tonight to watch. So I am taking part in another one of the collaborations over at Rachel and Bella. Lovely set of channels, mother-daughter team, based here in Wales. And we are doing a collaboration of British channels. So, yes, I'm quite excited. And I've been partnered with Denise over at Denise's Junk Journals UK channel. So I've been over exploring her channel. So, yeah, quite excited. Don't know what I'm going to do yet, but excited. So, right, that's cut to size to go in. So let's see how big that overhang is. So if I get that bang on spine. Am I centered? I can normally feel it with my fingers. You're probably seeing a better angle if I'm centered than I am. It is one of the challenges of filming what you're doing, because you can't like stick your head in between what you're doing and the camera. So what is that going to look like? What's on that side? I think that is spot on. Yep. So if this goes down, and that comes over, I don't have to trim much off. What do you reckon? Maybe, well, that's a half an inch. An inch? Let's try. Let's try an inch. Where's that little mini chopper gone? There it is. I can't believe I found this at that Recreate place in Cardiff. £2.50 I paid for it. It's brilliant. The only problem is it doesn't have, it's only metric. Oh, here we go. Where's my pencil? Pencil. I tried once, my darlings. Once I tried to work in metric by flipping my mat upside down to metric, and I did one book using metric. Never again. Nope. But even the British crafters that I know and people who sew, they all work in inches. None of them work in metric. Because they're just like, it doesn't work. It doesn't come out right. Now, I've moved that now. But I don't want to glue that down yet because I want to do some sewing on it. Put that back in the middle there. And line it up. Lined up? Yep. And yes. That's about the size of the pocket I want. So, I'm going to trim the other one and do some sewing on these. I did get some lace out. Where is it gone? Hold on. There they are. So I want to put some lace trims on that pocket. And I want to put some lace trims on that pocket once it's trimmed down. And possibly some lace on the edge of that. I do have this, but is this too white? I'm thinking that's too, like, stark white. Because I don't think, well, there is some white in the journal pages. Shall we go with white? Or that sort of more cream color? One of those two, I think I'm going to run through the sewing machine and sew onto the edge of that. Then I will jump back on camera and we'll get it all attached and see where I go from there. So, back in a tick, darlings. Right, my darlings. Back now, me and the sewing machine have had another one of those days. Oh, my word. I've got drop stitches. You can't really tell on these, but she's dropping stitches. The bobbin broke. I think me and the sewing machine need some one-on-one TLC time. Take it apart, blow it out with canned air, oil it, restring everything, but never mind. I've got them done. So I've got the two pockets on, front and back inside cover. So we've got sort of a good-sized pocket on both to go in. So let's get these stuck down. I'll do some super speedy gluing down. So I haven't glued the pocket. I sewed, I ran the lace topper bit through, so you could tuck something up underneath it if you could figure out a way to make it stay, or a paper clip. But I haven't glued the pocket down. I've just run it directly through my sewing machine, because all that is going to get glued to the cover. So it will have a fair bit of strength to it. So let's speed this bit up a bit, and I will glue these in. So wake up, Art, come on. Blowing bubbles at me. So here we go. Right, darlings, all stuck in. Art will grab velvet. I've done it before. It just needs a little bit of extra persuasion. And I might have to go in and top up some little bits here and there. Now that bit isn't even the cardstock underneath is stuck. That's where that top piece of paper has come away. I thought that was art. It's not. It was the glue, the piece of paper on top. So there. So all stuck in. Does that one come away as well? No, I'll check that one after. I'll go back and fine tune those edges later. So what I've got next to do is, so I'm quite pleased with that. Still fluff everywhere. But look at that. I've managed not to get any art glue onto my outer velvet. So inside, I was going to go with one of those, but I managed to find that one instead. And it's much thinner, much thinner and lighter weight than those cotton ones. So I've gone around the template, the inner spine with that lace trim. And let's see if we can line this up. So that's what we're looking like now for the inside cover. So quite pleased with that. And the placement of the pockets on either side. So all I did to that one is I clipped the template, the punching template, to the inner spine and poked directly through it with my quilling tool. So I'm not going to bind this one on camera. This is Henry, by the way, my long-suffering hedgehog with his hat pins and his needles. That's going into Edith, safe, so I don't lose it. And then once the signatures are bound there, that will get glued with heavier duty glue, probably Beacon, onto here. And then set away for a day or so to cure. And then those will get tacked down in there. So I want to call stop on part 1 for the cover because I haven't decided on the outside. I want to wrap possibly some antique lace or something around the outer spine, or possibly something like a doily, an old tea-stained doily. I don't know. It's just my thoughts at the moment that I need to gather. And I'm not sure about a front plate or closure yet because I've got a few different options that I'm considering. So one of the options is I could cover the outer spine with lace. I could put eyelets in to have a tie closure like I've done in previous books. I also thought, do I try to incorporate the picture of Edith from the dust jacket onto the cover? But it's bugging me because she's facing the wrong way. I would like her to be facing that way instead of that way. Plus, this is very shiny. So that would need, pardon me, some sort of treatment with matte, medium, to dampen it back. I found that in my stash. And I briefly considered it and putting it upside down, because then I could hang a charm or something off the bottom of that. But this thing is so thick, I'm not sure if that would just get on my nerves. It's just far too thick. I mean, this is like, it's a good 1/4 of an inch thick. I've also got those, which I've done previously, because I used one of these in Penelope to frame. Do I try to work out her image? Now, if I put that directly on the vignette and center it, it cuts off the top of her head. So I'd have to work out a sort of different backing for that, but I think I had to do that on Penelope as well. So do I incorporate her onto the cover somehow, or do I leave the frame and incorporate her somehow onto the Ex Libris card that's going in here, or incorporate her on somewhere else in the journal? I don't know. So I'm pondering that, and I'm pondering the idea of having a removable faceplate that is the closure. So, thoughts, darlings? But I'm going to leave that one here for now. Pleased with this. Get those signatures bound in and stuck in, and then dig out all my antique lace and think about what I'm going to do with that spine, and think about what I'm going to do for the closure. So I'm off to watch Rachel's launch video now for the collaboration. So I hope all you out there are doing well, keeping your creative juices flowing, and have enjoyed, and hope to see you back again here soon. So, bye for now, everyone.